Good morning. My name is Bill Davies, the moderator for this year's series of legislative breakfasts hosted by Vermont's North Country Chamber of Commerce. This breakfast is being sponsored by the Orleans County Board of Realtors. In behalf of the Chamber and the Board of Realtors, I'd like to welcome everyone this morning. I'm very pleased to recognize Dan Pellerin, the Vice Chair of the Chamber, who organizes these breakfasts. And if there's anyone here who is participating who does not receive email notifications with reference to these breakfasts, please contact Dan and provide him with your email address, and your name will be added to the list. Thank you, Dan, for coordinating these breakfasts, maintaining the email list and sending out all the notices and generally making sure that the breakfasts happen. I also want to express great appreciation to Todd Perano and the hospitality extended to us by NEK-TV for allowing us to use their facility as the host for these Zoom legislative breakfasts. And again, without Todd, I would be totally lost because he is here this morning and makes sure that the technology for the meeting is working. I admit to being totally technologically challenged. This morning, we're pleased to have as our special guests Senator Bobby Starr and Russ Ingalls, and also we have available representing the House, Representative Woodman Page. We give each person 10 to 15 minutes to make a presentation as to the issues they are facing in Montpelier during this year's session. Without further ado, I'd like to call upon Bobby Starr to tell us what's happening in the Senate. And also, I'd ask that everyone who is not speaking, please make sure to mute yourself. And with nothing further, Senator Starr. Okay, should I say something? Okay, Senator
Bobby,
Starr, I think you have muted yourself, and we'd like you to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Bill. And I want to, of course, thank Dan and the realtors and the local TV for being with us this morning. It's been really busy in Montpelier, of course, all winter, but right now we're getting near the tail end of it. It's not going to go on all summer like it did last year, hopefully. And so we're pushing to wrap up the second week of May. And so there's a lot of bills floating to the top. And one is before we get into those, I'd just like to say that, you know, I chair the Agricultural Committee and serve on the Appropriations Committee. In the Senate, we all work on two committees, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And in the Ag Committee, we've been right out straight. We've voted out most all of our bills, but S-100 is a universal meals bill that helps children in our schools get hot lunch. And that has been changed to a universal breakfast proposal that the Senate Education Committee did and will be coming to the floor this week. We also have voted out a dairy stabilization bill that I reported on the last time. And committee members to serve on that task force have been appointed. And we're just waiting for the right time because everybody's so busy to start holding those meetings. Another bill we took care of is if you own ag land or forest land and you have a small solar array, which is less than 1/10 of an acre. So it's one of those small stands that you have that rotate with the sun. That's if it's sitting on current use land, that's still going to be allowed. Whereas before you had to extract that land out of current use, and it just caused a lot of grief for the landowner. We also passed out a bill this past week allowing unpasteurized milk to be sold at little farm stands by the road, and also at TSAs, so that it will broaden and open that market up a little bit for the raw milk producers, which we have quite a few of here in Vermont. And, the milk cooling issue was the big issue on that. But it rolled out of our committee with a 4-1 vote. So hopefully the Senate will pass that, and that'll help the small producers. Another in the appropriations, that's a busy committee, and we have in H 315, we have taken care of the tax liability for people that received government checks not to be taxed on that for this year. There's some question on whether that same thing will hold true for next year, but it's really too early to tell. Also in there was a $5 million set aside to help people that were going to be foreclosed upon, to help alleviate that issue. And so it's been pretty crazy. A lot of money for broadband, childcare, adult days. So, if you've got a senior citizen that you're looking after, there's going to be help there to open them back up and get them, in a place where it's safe and warm and you can go to work and not be too concerned about your loved one's care. Another bill that we passed is, you can't send your household garbage to the dump anymore. And we set a bill up that would allow a farmer to take 2,000 tons of food residuals and combine it with other products so that they can compost it and use it on their fields. And they could, even if they had extra, they could sell up to half of that to their neighbors or individuals for composting material. The big deal now is there'll be a lot of conference committees being set up after this week we're in right now. Bills floating back and forth and trying to get wrapped up in 2 weeks. I think I'll stop there, Bill, and allow Russ and the other members of the legislature to say a few words, and it's important for us to hear from the folks that are watching and taking part in this today more than it is, and then we can answer their questions that they have of us. So with that, thanks, Bill, and I'll pass it on to what some of the other members of the legislature.
Thank you, Bobby. Now I'd like to recognize Senator Russ Ingalls. Russ serves as clerk of the Senate Committee on Institutions and as a member of the Senate Committee on Transportation. Russ.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate the opportunity to come before everybody. And thank you, Bobby, for telling and informing us what's going on in the ag committees and everything that you've got your hands in, which is quite a bit. It's nice to let people know what's happening on that end for sure. I'm on transportation and institutions. Both those are money bills. They are, we plan to have those out this week. If not, probably by Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest. You're going to see that the state has gone towards electrification of automobiles. That's a big push right now. A lot of that stuff coming out, but other than that, there's not a lot of excitement going on in transportation other than just making sure that the dollars are being spent are spent wisely, and I can assure you that they are. Institutions, the same way. That's basically a pot of money that the governor bonds for every year to keep our state buildings up and going. So I'd like to say that there's a lot of excitement in that committee, but other than just making sure the money's spent wisely, again, they're money opportunities for regional areas that we make sure that they're spent wisely. Just a few bills just to touch on. And as Bobby said, this really isn't about us. This is about people calling in and being able to ask questions, but a few bills of concerns that I have. We have this rental registry that's going pretty hot and wild right now. And I really can't find a reason why the state really needs to understand why you want to rent anything. But they're pretty adamant that they want to know what you're renting and how you're renting. And they come up with the guise that it's for your protection. It's for your protection for them to know. Here's the big caveat to that. I won't spend a lot of time on it. As we all know, in the real estate business, we treat everybody the same all through the process, all the way through, or we get a visit from people that we don't want to talk with, mainly the Human Rights Commission or anything. And this bill basically is there, I believe, to kill Airbnb. The state wants to know what you're renting, how you're renting, and they say they want to know that because nobody's watching that. Never mind that you're watching it. Never mind your insurance company's watching it. The thing that's scary for me is that if the state has this list and they call you and they ensure payment and they say, well, we have this person that we want to house. And if you tell them no, well, you've just violated every rental registry that you could ever, or any rental rule that you could ever violate by discriminating against who you're going to rent to. That's kind of my take on that. Teachers' pension funds is something that we need to tackle at some point in time. There is a little bit that's going on. Unfortunately, the unions put a lot of pressure on the some parts of the legislature, and they retreated. So hopefully we can get back to that. I do believe that what we have promised, we ought to honor, but it cannot go on the way that it's going on. It has to be fixed. It has to be talked about. And when we have these federal funds available, we got to find a way to leverage these funds and balance this plan up and make sure that we can honor what we had said we're going to honor, and then still have a plan well enough to attract teachers and state employees that want to come and work in our state. We have an unemployment bill that is, again, a little problematic. This bill extends unemployment benefits almost indefinitely, certainly into next year through 2022. The most disturbing part of that bill is that it waives the requirements that you must go find a job. and it's putting the pressure back on the employers to be the bad people, when it really is the state that is the state's responsible to make sure that when people have a job opportunity, that they take those jobs. Our unemployment compensation fund was at $500 million, one of the three healthiest in the United States. Through its worst economic times, it got down to 40%. We still have $216 million into it. We really don't have to do much to shore it up, but we need to get these people back to work. We need to make sure that they're applying for jobs. It's very important that we start the job search, so that you just ask anybody who has any positions open. They cannot get people to come back to work, and nobody's applying. We have a gun bill that's been going around some. One gun bill did pass that you can't have bring any guns into hospitals. That wasn't a problem. We weren't having that problem. It's just the ability to chip away at your gun rights. We had that problem solved with no trespassing orders. If you were to have brought a gun into a hospital, you would have been charged under the no trespassing law, and it would have had the same effect. But just as troubling are the anti-hunting legislations that we have going on. I would encourage anybody and everybody to write any legislator that you can get their email to and put a stop to this. It's very dangerous. They want to stop trapping, hunting, bear hunting with hounds, and basically anything that they can stop that they don't believe that they're that they don't agree with. Very, very dangerous legislation, and unfortunately, it's gained a lot of traction. Then lastly, and I'll yield the floor. We are having real hard times with landlords not being able to get their rent collected. I would say to any landlord that's listening that they need to get involved with the state process. I might be wrong with this number, but I know there's better than $100 million out there to help landlords. It's not ideal. It's not great. But this landlord eviction period is not going to go away for anytime soon. There's also help to help pay utilities. If anybody has a problem, they can email me, they can get hold of me, and I can put you in touch with where you need to apply for this. There's a lot of changes coming with that program. It was where you had to get tenant involvement, where the tenant had to make the claim, which most of them who aren't paying probably are willing to do that as long as the relationship hasn't gotten to a point to where you're not communicating. But some of this law is going to make it that the landlord can start the process, at least to make sure that you can get caught up on some of the past rent. It's a huge problem. I'm hearing horrible stories. So I would urge anybody to make sure you're jumping in on those programs and understanding what's going on. Other than that, Bill, thank you. Thank you for letting me have the time, and I yield the floor.
Thank you, Senator Ingalls. Now I'd like to call upon Representative Woodman Page, who serves as a member of the House Committee on Health Care, to tell us what's going on in the House. Woodman.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for having me. And as most public speakers know, before you begin your presentation, you should know who your audience is. And since we're talking to the realtors, and we have a former, well, actually, we still have a realtor who's now a senator, I'd just like to start and talk about the bill that just came out of the House. We received a lot of emails regarding H 437. It was the property transfer bill, or what some of you called the Welcome to Vermont tax. Many of you wrote to myself and others saying what you liked about it, the assistance of purchasing and restoring manufactured homes, but you also had a lot of concerns about taxing commercial property transactions. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't vote for that bill. Another issue that's coming up is the amount of money that the state is receiving. state will be receiving approximately about $1.36 billion from the coronavirus relief funds. A lot of counties and municipalities are going to be receiving monies, and that should start flowing out from the Treasury Department, I believe, sometime early next month. And I think the state has about 30 days to get that monies out. One of the issues in the legislature, in the House, is that we're already beginning to spend that money. And, and we don't even have the money yet. And the governor is concerned about this. We do not have to spend the money until, I guess, December 31st, 2024. And he's just concerned about, and others as well, about how quickly we're beginning to spend this money. And he believes that we should be a little bit more strategic and think clearly about how we're spending that money. The governor currently does have 4 areas that he'd like to spend the money on. Of course, climate change is one area, lessening the impact, water and sewage infrastructure, universal broadband, which is a big, big thing, and finally, housing. The House just also recently on Friday, I think it was Friday, it may have been Thursday, passed the H-175 bottle bill. I didn't vote for it because I thought that it's going to hurt Vermonters by raising costs to retailers for craft beverages and cider and wine manufacturers and distributors. The bill may also raise the cost of bottled items and may send consumers out of state for those purchases. Another bill that just came up was S-53. It just passed. It was supposed to be a very simple bill to remove tax on menstrual products. But it ended up having a number of additional items included in it. One of those things was the sales tax on cloud-based software. There was also an exemption for military pensions. Approximately, it was $10,000 to $30,000 for exemption for military pensions. It later was reduced to $10,000, and that bill was passed for the cloud tax as well as the $10,000 exemption for military pensions. I did not vote for the cloud tax. I did vote for the military pensions, the exemption of the $10,000, because I thought it would help our Guard in attracting people to the Guard, also trying to attract military retirees to the area here. Another issue that Senator Ingalls just raised is the Vermont Pension Investment Committee that's been formed. It looks as though we're taking our foot off the gas on what we're going to do with regards to the pensions. So the speaker has said that they're going to start up a investment committee looking at the membership there. And I would just say regarding the pensions, I personally feel that there should be some sort of forensic audit of where the money has gone all these years, where it went to, and also I think people should be accountable for how those monies were spent. Ultimately, the pension system is going to affect those workers now, our teachers and our state workers. Some of them are going to retire early if they haven't already. Some of them, such as our law enforcement officials, are going to look elsewhere as a result of all this bad publicity, really, on our pension systems. Being in the healthcare committee, some other issues that we've dealt with is the S3 bill. This has to do with criminal procedures related to competency to stand trial and insanity as a defense. The healthcare committee is looking at some of these healthcare services and looking at having a working group review some of the issues that come up with these recommendations. S42 is establishing an emergency service provider wellness commission. As many of you know, our first responders, great many of them are volunteer, and many of them, for the first time will come upon an accident, and there are no services there to help these first responders to deal with some of the things that they have to go through. And so there is a commission that's going to be established to look at some of these issues where our first responders are suffering from trauma. That's something that I will support. Another issue is S22. This is related to stem cell products that are being pushed, that are being advertised, where these stem cell products are not FDA approved. And this bill is basically a consumer protection bill. There'll be certain guidelines in which these practitioners will have to notify the patient that the FDA does not approve the procedure. There'll also be restrictions on advertising as well. As Senator Ingalls said, the unemployment benefit issues is a great concern. I'm also getting a number of letters from employers complaining that they can't find the workforce to do the work because individuals just don't want to work. They're making more through unemployment. So that is a major concern, and hopefully we'll deal with that as well. Other issues that came up over the last few weeks is our state airport in Newport, the Northeast Kingdom Airport. There was a report done recently on updates to it. I did write a letter asking for more improvements. Some of those improvements go back to when we had the EB5 fiasco, looking at trying to update the hangars, looking to update the entrance to the airport as you get off the aircraft and enter the facility. So hopefully maybe some funds will go to updates at our airport. And I guess that would be it. I'll just turn it over to Mr. Davies.
Thank you very much, Representative Page. Now we're at the point where we open the floor to questions and comments from members of the audience. Those asking questions or making comments are asked to identify themselves and to indicate to whom the question or comment is directed. Again, please keep your questions and comments as brief as possible so that we can afford as many people who are interested in having the opportunity to ask questions or make comments to do the same. Again, I would remind folks to please turn on your microphone if you are speaking, but if you are not speaking, to turn it off. And with that, who would like to start with the first question or comment? Such a lively bunch. Well, I see Craig Crawford is looking like he has a question, but he's too bashful to ask it. So without anything further, Mr. Crawford, what question or comment would you like to make?
Not so much a question. Just kind of thank all the representatives, senators for coming out today for the meeting and keep doing what you guys are doing. I know it's a difficult time and going through some weird stuff, but as president of the board, I just want to thank everybody for coming out and keep doing a good job. So other than that, Bill, I don't have a whole lot. I think everybody did some good explaining and answered any questions I may have had, but I'll yield it back to you. And if somebody else wants to take a stab at it, you're more than welcome to.
Hi, it's Dana Gray from the Caledonian Record. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you
okay.
Fine.
Thank you very much. Question is for Senator Ingalls. Could you just tell me, Senator, that rental registry, what's the bill number that is referencing?
Oh, geez, some Crobies. I knew I was going to be there, and I had a hard time getting on my computer. I'll send that to you, Dana, in an email, if that's okay.
Thank you.
And I'll send you the language of the bill. I apologize.
Okay.
I had
And
to-
just,
I had to log on to the computer that I don't normally use. I couldn't get on this morning, and it doesn't let me get on where I need to get to. So
okay,
I'll send
yeah,
it to you.
no problem. And just another one for you, Senator. What is the status of Senate Bill 30 on the hospital? No firearms in the hospital?
That is passed the Senate and has gone to the House. And I don't know if Woody could tell us what's going on with that, or if any of the other legislators know. We've been told that the governor has a veto pen in his hand. We're hoping that if it makes it to his desk, that is what in fact happens.
Okay. Thank you.
Representative
welcome.
Page, any response?
I would just say, I know that it's in the legislature, it's been assigned to a committee, but we have not seen it presented to the floor. So it's in a committee right now. It may be in Government Ops Committee, but don't quote me on that, please.
Yeah.
Okay, next question or comment.
Bill,
Well, Pam
Bill,
Lance, I can see you. You must have something that you'd like to add to this gathering?
Bill, one issue that we haven't talked about is the funding for the state colleges that, there's been a lot of money put into the, well, it's still not done yet, but it's been put into the proposed budget to help our state colleges.
So, and Senator Starr, how are you going to solve that?
Well, it's on a, you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Well, it's on a 4-year trajectory to get them back on solid footing. And we have proposed in appropriations on both sides money to help with that plan for the duration of it, to try to get them stabilized and back going good again. And that's it's a big issue for our area with Linden in our backyard in Johnson. A lot of our young people from our area go there to further their education, go there to take special courses for training. So we have addressed that, and I believe from talking with the committees that's going to roll through. So I don't know, I just wanted to put that information out there for our citizens.
Okay. Thank you. Senator Ingalls, do you have any comment on what Senator Starr just brought up?
Well, I think that everybody's taking that pretty seriously. They understand that the impact of what those colleges do for the communities, not only dollar wise, but certainly the affordability of higher education. I think that there's a lot of different ways that this is going, but my opinion on what we need to do is to do with when those colleges were very successful. They were all specialty schools. If you wanted to go to meteorology or further your education or your career into being in broadcast, you went to Linden State. If you wanted to get into teaching and accounting type of degrees, you went to Johnson. Obviously, the ag school and nursing down in the Rutland County area. So I think that the economic impact to these areas are twofold. It does secure a lot of holes in our economy, but the big thing is what it does for people who just don't have the money, but just want to have a great education, can stay local. A lot of people that are going to these institutions, not only going to college, but they're also working jobs too. A lot of these people are self-funded. So the part to keep higher education affordable and localized is, to me, very important.
And Representative Page, any comment?
Well, I would just add that we live in a education desert here in the Northeast Kingdom, and Johnson, well, what used to be Johnson, Lyndon Johnson colleges are very important to this area, as the others have said. You know, we all know that those schools did provide education to become teachers, to become nurses, and those programs are still important for the area to help people to grow. I mean, let's face it, education today is not just, you know, going to school and then graduating. Education is going to be a lifelong process for everyone in order to stay effective and to be able to contribute to their communities. So it's important that we keep these schools going. I'm a little surprised, though, that their well-being has decreased over the years. In the 80s, those schools were very popular, and I don't know whether it's because those schools, those institutions, just didn't recruit well enough, or just didn't put the effort into it. So as a result, those schools have suffered in having less students go to school there. But as Senator Ingalls said, Lyndon, certainly well known nationally for its meteorological program. Johnson was noted for its teaching programs. Vermont Tech for engineering. Rutland for the nursing program. So we just got to keep them going until after the pandemic is over. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize Jim Davis.
Thanks, Bill. This is for both senators and Representative Page. And again, it's directed towards the whole college system. So how do we solve the fundamental issue of the lack of revenue against the expenses that it costs to run a college? For every dollar that the college has to expend, it cannot raise a dollar in revenue. Am I hearing today that our legislature is considering that it's going to raise the amount of money to cover those offsets over the next 4 years and continue that going further? Thank you.
Yeah.
Senator Starr.
Thanks, Jim. There is a panel set up by the committee that's looking into this, and at the end of, we can't really raise the tuition rates. They're already basically at their limit to be competitive in the marketplace. But there is a long-term plan that this committee has come forth with. And part of it is the help that we're going to give them, state people, the taxpayers of Vermont. It isn't us in the legislature, it's your money that we've decided that we should help this committee move forward with their plan. And in that plan, there's X number of dollars. It's right around $60 million that will help with over the next few years, along with many other issues that the colleges are going to have to do to get stabilized, get their enrollment back up, and get moving forward. And if if you think about it, it isn't really anyone's fault that it's in the condition, these colleges are in the condition they're in because it's nationwide. And with the drop in student enrollments, like we've gone from 120,000 kids in our school system statewide, K through 12, down to just a hair over 80,000 students. So instead of having a graduating class of, say, 1,000, there's a graduating class of 600-700. So there's less students to pick up the, to fill those slots at the schools. And of course, many private colleges, many have closed, but many of the more wealthy private colleges have been using and are using their endowment funds to get everything stabilized until they get transitioned down to this lower number of students. I don't know if that helps explain what we're going to do, but we feel the people in Montpelier today, us reps and senators, feel that it's very important to stabilize these colleges because they're not only an institution of higher learning, they're also very important to the economic viability of the areas where they're located.
Senator
And to touch upon what Senator Starr and Rep. Page have said, these colleges have got to help themselves a little bit too. Even UVM has recognized that they're offering too many courses for what they can cover, and they're trying to pare it back. They're trying to pare it back so they can specialize and try not to be something for everybody everywhere along the way. And I think that the success of the colleges, the state colleges that we've had that we're talking about, again, back in the 80s, as Woody had pointed out, they did well, but they tried to do too much. They tried to reach for too much, and they tried to compete with higher, just colleges that had more endowments, more population. And I think that if they could scale back and get back to what they used to be, that would be a big step. But we need all hands on deck for that and to recognize that. Because without everybody working in the same direction, we know how hard that gets.
Representative Page.
Well, I would just reiterate what the others have said. Our state colleges are having a difficult time because the competition with other state colleges is very fierce for those few individuals. And I would also add that here again, the state has has funded our schools at a lesser degree than they should have. The House has put money towards stabilization of our colleges, and hopefully that'll work. Hopefully they'll be able to make some changes. But here again, I think the state has reduced those funds over the years and should have maybe had more funds going to those colleges. And as Senator Smith said, those schools in those areas are very important for economic reasons to the communities. If we were to lose those schools, the monies that we would have to put into those communities we just might as well put the money towards the colleges and keep them going, because to lose those schools in those communities would be very detrimental to those communities. So.
Thank you. The next hand that I see is C. Bushy. I'm guessing it might be Carol Bushy.
Yes, Bill, thank you very much. Yes, I'm Carol Bushy, and I work at Northeast Kingdom Human Services, which hopefully most of you know is the local provider for the 3 counties of mental health, substance use disorder, and developmental disabilities. And I want to thank the legislators for being here, and heard some good things about assistance for tenants and help for landlords. And my question is about funding to kind of support the designated agency, special service agencies in the state. Our agency is one of 16, and the state contracts with us to provide services in our communities for individuals that need mental health, substance use, and developmental disability supports. And our funding, you're just talking about the state colleges, certainly our base funding hasn't been supported in a way that keeps us on par with most private businesses. Not that we would expect necessarily to be there. However, without base funding continuing to be stabilized, our resources are really tapped out. Excuse me. And right now we are certainly hoping to get a rate increase. However, a rate increase will be helpful, but it will mean that we'll just go through our base funding money that much quicker. So it doesn't really help us increase service delivery to meet the demand across the state, but does show that the value of our work is kind of being recognized to some degree. But I'm just wondering if there's been discussion about kind of how the state will be able to respond to the lack of ability to fund that the designated agency system a little bit better, given that we are encountering so much need right now due to COVID, and it's just going to continue to get worse. So part of it is not kind of wanting to raise everybody's anxiety, but just making sure that people are aware that the request for services across the state is just huge, and the agencies do not have the ability to hire staff because we can't compete with wages that people can get with other organizations. So just kind of putting that out there and wanting to see what your comments are. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Senator Starr, and I would just like to note that we have about 13 minutes left, and we have two more folks who have questions or comments. So if you can keep your response a little briefer. Senator Starr.
Thanks for the question, Carol. We have put $5 million in for the mental health services to help our local designated agencies. I believe we increased or did an increase of 2% last year, which was just barely enough to cover any employment increases. But no, we've talked a lot about our different designated agencies, and there is going to be, because there is some money, thanks to the federal government, there is some money to help our designated agencies, whether it's adult daycare or whether it's our VNAs or our mental health services. We are putting money, there's some money in that emergency bill that both the houses passed and we passed, and it's in, I think we just finished passing H315 in the Senate this past week. So, and it went, I think it went through with a unanimous vote. So there is going to be funds for our mental health and all of our designated agencies.
Senator Ingalls.
You're muted, Russ.
I think that Carol's, thank you for that. I think Carol's concerns are well founded and grounded. Through this pandemic, their caseload has done nothing but increase. I know that the housing requirements that they've had to find housing for these folks has been unbelievable. I mean, just go and look and see at every hotel that's filled to capacity. As Senator Starr says, 315 does have some provisions in that. It did pass unanimously, but we have to spend more time on that. When this pandemic ends, looks like July is the date. Carol, we've got to circle back to you. Hang in there a little longer. Your voices are being heard, but yes, we do need to spend more time on that. We need to put some more resources your way for sure.
Representative Page. And again, I think you're muted, Representative Page.
The Healthcare Committee did recommend appropriating 2.6 million from the general fund to provide 3% cost of living adjustment for employees of the designated and specialized service agencies and employees of the Department of Mental Health. And as Senator Starr said, there were supposed to be some matching funds from the federal government under the Vermont Global Commitment to Health section. So there has been some monies designated towards those agencies, as you were talking about.
Thank you. The
And
next
more,
name,
and more needs to be done.
is Kay at CCV.
Hi, I was just typing out a few of my thoughts so that I would make sure I could say
Please
it.
identify yourself.
I'm sorry. My name is Kay. I'm from CCV.
Yeah, what's your last name and where are you from?
My name is Kay McIsaac, and I'm from CCV in Newport, Vermont,
Okay.
up in the Northeast Kingdom. So I just wanted the opportunity to step in for a minute and just say that I realize that the focus here seems to be on a lot of the four-year state colleges, but that CCV is a state college as well, and it's vital to the system of the state colleges. I've worked and attended 4 of the 5 state colleges. So I've worked at Linden State, I've gone to school at Johnson State, I've worked for VTC, and I now work for CCV. So CCV is vital to each and every community in Vermont, and we are about half the cost of the 4-year colleges and can provide 2-year degrees which fully transfer to most schools in the nation as well as within our state. We can save students of thousands of dollars for their first 2 years of education. Again, I know the focus is mainly on the 4-year schools and their funding and the unification thereof. But CCV and its flexibility and adaptability to our communities is what is needed in each area that we serve. There's a CCV college within 50 miles of most Vermonters. So if you want to assist the workforce, we're here. We do job fairs. We help students get careers. We help train them into the workforce. If you want education to be less expensive for Vermonters all over the state, if they start with CCV, they will absolutely save money before they get there. So I just don't want the legislator to forget that CCV is out here. We are in every single community, not just the Northeast Kingdom, but every community. We're here in Newport, we're in St. Johnsbury. We have 12 locations that are physical, plus 1 that is online. We work with every high school in the state as a unit, as a college. So I hear the cry for the 4-year programs and the 4-year colleges, but if you want students to truly save money, CCV is here, and we're always here to help.
Yeah, quickly,
If
Bill.
we can keep the responses quite brief, because we do have another question or comment to be coming, and we only have 6 minutes left. So Senator Starr.
Yeah, quickly, Kay, we haven't forgotten you folks at all, except, you guys do a great job, and we put quite a lot of this federal money into training that will be going your way for job training and economic development. If an employer needs to have people retrained, or people that need jobs need to be retrained to go to a good employer. So no, we haven't forgotten you. You're doing well compared to your counterparts in the system. So hang in there. We're with you.
Senator Ingalls. You're muted.
I agree. I concur with Senator Starr. We haven't forgot about CCV. They're a huge part of our educational structure, and we appreciate what you do.
Representative Page.
And I have nothing further to add other than what the others have added.
Thank you. The final comment or question this morning will come from Peter Fina.
Good morning, Bill. Hello, gentlemen. Peter Fina, Orleans County Board of Realtors. My question is to Representative Page. Russ has already spoken on what he's labeled as the rental registry. I do believe that passed out of that Senate and will be coming over to the House. And I wanted to get your position in regards to the rental registry for short-term and as it applies to short-term rentals.
Representative Page.
Yes, I'm not for the registry. I don't think it's a good bill. I think a lot of our problems with our housing issues been caused by bad legislation, to be honest with you. So I will not support it. And I know a number of my colleagues will not support it. As the others have said, there are issues with our landlords that have bad tenants and they can't get rid of them. And although this bill that you mentioned doesn't address that, I mean, there's a lot of problems that are occurring that the legislature really isn't taking up. So I'll leave it at that. I hope that answered your question.
Okay.
Yes,
Senator
thank you.
Starr, Senator Starr, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just that, I have real question marks about that bill and don't think it'll do a thing to help anyone except for the Treasury Department, the tax department.
Okay, and Senator Ingalls, anything you wanted to add?
I just think that, we need to keep the pressure on that bill. The state has no reason to know any more than what they already do. This is just, I think, just to kill the Airbnbs throughout the state. And I think when you talk to somebody within the Department of Rental within the state, they don't seem to see that. No, that's not our intended consequence. Well, any of us who have ever had anything to do with rental knows that there's a lot of good people who got in trouble when their intended consequences weren't for what they were getting charged with. They just made a mistake. This bill is going to get people in trouble. I can promise you that.
Okay. Well, we have just a little bit more than 2 minutes left. That's not enough time to allow for another round. So at this point, I'd like to thank Dan Pellerin for organizing these breakfasts, the Orleans County Board of Realtors for sponsoring it. And I think what that means is that the Orleans County Board of Realtors agrees to pay for our breakfast at whatever dining establishment we choose to attend today. And also like to thank the Vermont North Country Chamber of Commerce, Todd Perano, and all participating legislators. Now, I'm going to be a little bit vague as far as our next Zoom gathering is concerned. The only thing that is not unclear at this point is that it will occur on May 10th. The timing will either be from 8 until 9 or from 10 until 11:30 or maybe even noon. And the reason for the time question is that Dan Pellerin is doing a yeoman's job in trying to get Governor Scott to participate in our next breakfast. And the reason for the 10 o'clock possibility is to accommodate the governor's schedule. And again, we're not sure of that, but just keep in mind that the next gathering will be on sometime the morning of May 10th. And with that, we're at 8:59. So in 15 seconds, so we can adjourn 45 seconds early.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.